Well, hello, welcome again to a reading of Odyssey Book 4, and I got up to line 573. And this continues on now with the story that is being told by Menelaus. Of course, he's telling the story to the young Telemachos. So the old man of the sea has departed, and Menelaus has pulled himself together after all the bad news he's had. And he now says, Ate epe depinea katelthamen edi thalasan. But when we, now he's gone back to the plural here because it's he and his comrades, we had gone down to the ship and to the sea, and we had prepared, this is from Hoplisdamai, so we had made supper, we had prepared supper, and well, ambrosial night, however you want to translate ambrosial, divine night. Epi plus the verb erchomai, this is the eleuthen, this special form that you see in Homer, which is probably an Aeolic form. So ambrosial or holy night descended. And indeed, at that time, koimerthemen, we slept. Epireg mini thalassas, on the, well, we'd say the shore of the sea. It's the place where the waves break. It's where the coastline is chopped up and broken. This word is connected with reg numi, the verb to break, so often just translated the shore of the sea. But when newly born, rosy-fingered dawn appeared, standard line in Homer. Now we get a men, and there'll be a det here as well coming later. So we, Pam proton, first of all, it's a combination of pan plus proton. So first of all, we dragged, I should say, from Eruo, we dragged the ships into the glorious or divine Hala sea. Now Hults this is the accusative from Hults, Halos, third declension. It's cognate with our word salt, of course, in Latin sal. It means salt, but it's often used to refer to the sea. So the salty sea, we just often just say Hala, the sea. So first of all, we were dragging, probably imperfect without augment. So we were dragging the ships into the divine sea, and tithemesta from tithemi, this is the middle, and probably again it may be imperfect here, so we were placing in it, or in them, in the ships. This is not n plus the dative, this is an accusative. The n here is adverbial almost. It's a preverb with the tithemesta. So we're placing on board, we'd say, histus kai histia. Now there are two words here to get used to to do with ships. Histos is the word for mast. It's a masculine noun, histos. This is accusative plural. And there's histion, this is the neuter plural, histia, so histion in the singular, and that's the word for a sail. So the masculine is the mast, the neuter is the sail. So we were placing on board the masts and the sails, and we were placing them on board the balanced ships, dative plural here from Neos. This is a funny little word used with ships in the sense of balanced, because they're symmetric and so on, presumably, on the balanced ships. Andekai autoi bantes epi kleisi kathisdon. Now the an here is for ana. It's not the an with the subjunctive, it's not that particle, it's an for ana, and it's a preverb with bino. So anabino is to go on board. And we ourselves, they themselves, because you've got neuter plural, you've got the plural verb here, so the men themselves getting on board, they began to sit, it's imperfect, epikleisi. These are at the benches. This is a word, it sort of means the place where the oars are locked in to the ship on the inside, and it's the place where you sit to man the oars. So generally translated, I think, as benches. So they were sitting on the benches, on the oars. Hexais de hexomenoi, and sitting each in turn, hexais. Now, tupton, imperfect from tupto, without augment, they began to strike the grey sea, polyan hulla, again that's hals, salt for the sea. They began to strike the hoary sea, the grey sea, eretmois, with their oars. From eretmon, I think it's a neuter noun. Aps back again into, now ace does not take a genitive, so you've got to supply hudor here, I think, into the water of Egypt. So into the river of Egypt, the river which is the Epetios. We've seen this one before. It's something like rain-fed river. So to the waters of Egypt, the grain-fed river. So in apposition to Egypt, you've got this genitive here, and you've got to supply something like hudor here to go with the ace. Stesa neas, I caused the ships to stop, to stand. So I think this is first person here, without augment again. So I stationed the ships, and erex are from resdo. I've seen this verb many times. I performed perfect hecatombs. So I sacrificed perfect hecatombs. Resdo is to do or make, as I mentioned, is often used in the sense of doing some kind of religious ceremony, in particular making hecatombs. The telies are perfect, unblemished. Auta epe catapausa theon colon ien ontern. But when, again it's that strong but that changes the subject and brings you on a bit in the story, but when I had caused to cease, from katapao, pao is to check in the active, and paomai in the middle is to cease from doing something. This is the active. So when I had checked, when I had put an end to the colon, the anger of the gods, those being forever, so the gods who live forever, when I had done all that, Hu Agamemnoni tumbon. Now the Hu here is from heo, to pour. This is it is an aorist. It would normally be sa here, but there's probably been a lost digamma somewhere in here, and the sigma's disappeared. So in Attic it would have been ecusa. Literally, I poured out a tomb for Agamemnon. And so we would say, I piled up a mound or a tomb, tumbon, for Agamemnon. Hina aspeton kleos ie, optative here, in order that he might, there might be, understand for him, asbeston, well, normally it means unquenchable. It's alpha privative plus that verb spenumi, to quench, so it's unquenchable glory, so we'd say glory that lasts forever. I think it has that meaning in a couple of places in Homer. So in order that there might be, understand for him, glory which lasts forever. Ironically, this is of course in the land of Egypt, so one thinks of like the pyramids, that he's set up some kind of memorial. Of course, this is all fictitious, but there is no such thing. Tauta telutesas neomen, and having completed all of these things, neomen, I headed home. I went off from neomai. So I returned home. Well, it's imperfect, so I made my way home. I began to go home. Dido asidemoi uron, and just looking at the next page, it says athanatoi. So the immortals, didotsan, they gave to me, or it's imperfect again, were giving to me uron, a fair breeze. That lovely word uros for favourable breeze, a fair breeze. And so I snuck and saw. The next word, of course, is athanatoi. The immortals did that. The immortals toi for hoi, who sent from Pempo, who sent me, Oka, swiftly into my dear, or my own, or my dear paternal home, my dear fatherland. So that's the end of his story to Telemachos, and now he asks Telemachos to stay on a bit longer. Telemachos is not that keen on the idea, but he's got to get out of it very politely. Al agi nun epimenon eni megaroi sinemoisi. But come now, epimenon, imperative from epimenon, so remain in my halls. Offra, now it's offra ken hen decate de duo decate te genetai. Literally, the offra can have the sense of until, which probably does here with the subjunctive. So until there might be literally an 11th and a 12th. Now these are feminine, so you've got to supply hamera here. There might be an 11th day or a 12th day. So we could translate it as, so wait here in my hall, so come now, wait in my halls, remain behind in my halls, until it is the 11th or the 12th day. Kai toti, and at that time I will send you away, I will send you away well. So I'll send you away happily, or well provisioned for, or something. So I'll give you a good send-off, in other words. At that time, that's probably quite good. At that time I will give you a good send-off. Doso, I will give to you agla adora, glorious gifts. Trace hippus kai difron eoxon, 3 horses and a I think that's well polished. I think it is. Yeah, I didn't look it up, but I think it's well polished. Well polished. Difron. Now, difros is a seat, but it's used by metonymy for a chariot, because a chariot has the seat on it, and so the seat becomes the chariot. Greek often does this by metonymy. It's sort of sometimes called the part for whole. So the seat is part of the chariot, so you talk about the seat when you mean the chariot. So I will give to you 3 horses and I think a well-polished chariot, but then, sort of almost in addition, afterwards, doso, I will give you a kalon aleson, a beautiful goblet. This is a lovely word, a cup or goblet, an aleson. Hina, in order that spendesta, second person from spender or spendamai, you might pour libations to the immortal gods. Menos, remembering, and now it takes a genitive, and emeth then for is another form for emu. You might remembering me. Panta, emata panta, all your days. So that you might pour libations to the immortal gods, making remembrance of me all your days. Amata panta. Ton dao Telemachos pepnumenos antion uda. Now Telemachos is in a rather awkward situation. He wants to go back home. He doesn't want to upset or offend King Menelaus, and so he's got to get out of this by being very polite. So, moreover, Telemachos, thoughtful Telemachos, then replied back to him, Antion, to his face really, but gave reply. Son of Atreus, me de me pollen chronon enthadi eruke. So do not, and goes with the imperative here, do not detain me, indeed, here, pollen chronon, for a long time, for much time. For, now here he starts being very polite, he says, for Hymenos sitting here, anes skoimein, this is an optative from aneko, I would, well, it means to put up with, but here it's got the sense of submit, I think. So I would submit, so the ego goes with that. So for indeed sitting here, I would be held beside you, ace any out on, for a whole year, get in fact. Udi, we get udi, nor would pothos desire for my house, nor for my parents, heloi, would it take control over me. So would it take me, this heloi from Hyrio. This is the optative. In other words, I could sit and listen to you for an entire year and I wouldn't even think about home or my parents. So just to do that bit again, and so for also, well, the chi here is just continuing on, perhaps almost even. You could translate it as even, for even sitting here, would I be held beside you, in fact, for a whole year, nor would desire for my house, nor for my parents take hold of me. Ainos gar muthoisia pessi kaisoisia kuan terpamai. For I'm enjoying immensely or terribly, Ainos, hearing your words and your stories, hearing your muthos in your stories and your words. Now, kuo normally takes the genitive. It's probably here dative after the terpamai, for I would get terrible pleasure by your word, by your stories and by your words, and then we get this participle as I listen to them. So it's not a kuo plus the dative, I think it's dative after the terpamai. I would take pleasure in your stories and your words, hearing them. Allah, but, and now he's got to get himself out of this, but now my comrades in sandy Pylos, holy Pylos, Aniadzousi, are distressed. You get the noun ania, which means distress or pain. This is the verb aniazdo, to be in distress or pain. So, but now my comrades in holy Pylos are distressed by me. Or it could be the comrades for me are distressed. So my comrades in holy Pylos are distressed. But you are detaining, you are keeping me here, chronon, well, it just means time, for a long time. Doron dohoti ke moi doyes, kemalion esto. And a gift, hoti, whatever thing you might give to me. I think this is hoti in the sense of hoti. So whatever gift you might give to me, doyes aorist optative here from Didomi, with Ken, whatever gift you might give to me, let it be chameleon, let it be a treasure. But it's almost and, or almost for, but it's just det here. I will not lead, axomai from ago, I will not bring horses into Ithaca, but lapso, I will leave, understand them here, understand to be an agalma, a delight, for you yourself. The soy goes with the auto. So I'll leave them here as a delight to you yourself. For you rule a land, a broad plain, a pedion. You rule a broad plain in which there is much. So we've got a men and a de. On the one hand, there is much lotos. This is clover. There is much clover, and in which, understand, there is much. Now, Cooperon, I think this is Gallingall. It's a certain plant. Gallingall, wheat and spelt. Now these are all te. Another ide is another and. So there's a not variation here. You've got lots of tets, but ide is also used for and it's almost and also. There is broad growing white cree barley. So in which there is much lotos, there's much clover, in which there is much gallingall, wheat and spelt, and also broad growing white barley. But in Ithaca, there neither neither are there broad dromoi, these are places for running, nor any meadow. Gibotos, you've got to supply SD, it is a place to feed the goats. But eperatos, and then we get a generative comparison here, it is much more beautiful than a land which feeds horses. So it's lovelier than the one that pastures or looks after horses. For none of the islands, understand, is hippelatos. This is from hippos. The alat is from that elauno. None of the islands is a place to drive horses. Uti u lemon have had good good pasture, a good meadow or something. Sorry. So none of the islands is a place for driving horses, nor a fair meadow. The islands which Kekliatai, this again is a third person plural. There's an artai for ntai, it's from Clino. So it's something like lie on. So these islands which lie on the sea, Hali from Hals. But Ithaca, now we get Tet and Kai. Again, this is a kind of generalizing phrase with the Tet and Kai. So it's sort of like Ithaca is one of them, and it is peripassion, and Ithaca more than them all. Genitive here after peri. And that is the end of this part of the reading of Book 4.